Hi, we're back here in the locker room with Billy Schweim on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Scotty McKay is broadcasting from his house. I'm in my house. Josh is back in the studio, keeping everything, on the up and up. Josh, we really appreciate the effort you're making in this tough time of quarantine. We are quarantined right now. And Scooter, of course, we're trying to lighten the load and keep things lively. Last week we had Craig Berube on to tell stories about his experiences in the NHL. Pretty candid interview.
Yeah, well, Chief's always got some great stories, so it's the same. We can't tell all of them, but he was able to lighten some of the listeners about some of the fun things he had with Keith Jones and Talk and guys like that.
So a fun thing to do, walk down memory lane when there's no sports to go on. You did your homework this week. Another Boston guy. A couple of weeks ago, we had Micah Ruzioni on. So let's go to the sports hotline and welcome in another Boston guy. He was an NHL referee for about 10, 12 years. Let's welcome into the locker room Paul Stewart. What's up, Stewie?
Yeah, you shortened me. I had 17 in the NHL and three in the minors, and you guys are all in your house, and I'm in the outhouse. So here we go.
Stewie, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
I need to do this right away, and I'm serious because you're searching for things to do. I'm busy typing and sending out emails and all of that, and I just wanted to say to Philadelphia, yo, Adrian.
Well, listen, we hope in Philadelphia style, in Rocky style, we can knock this virus out and get back to sports.
Well, get back to sports and normalcy. I just talked to my father-in-law. He's a veteran in a veterans home out in Minnesota. And, we worry about our aging senior citizens. And it's funny, a week ago Saturday, I had my 67th birthday, so I guess I'm up in that senior range too.
Yeah, we all can't be safe.
Stewie, I remember you did have a great career. I remember you as a referee. I never booed you. Scooter, did you ever boo Stewie?
Never, not once. I've booed a lot of referees.
That was your mother, though. That was your mother sitting next to you that kept giving me the finger.
Yeah, right. We always like to, being a coach for 25 years, we've half the time I tell these guys, listen, I'm not yelling at you as much from the bench. I'm more or less letting my players know that I have their back, So if I'm screaming, it's because you're across the ice.
I understood the position of the fox, and I also got the hound. So the fact is that my grandfather was a referee and a coach. My dad was a coach and an official. My brother was a coach. I've coached. And in 20 years of refereeing pro hockey at all levels, I never tossed a coach, and I only called 4 bench minors, and 3 of them were to 2 of my teammates, one guy I lived with. So
that's because he didn't pay his rent.
Maybe getting back at him for hiding the toilet paper.
You can't do that today.
We're talking with Paul Stewart, former NHL official. Stewie, Curry Frazier's a good friend of the show. We've had him on several times. He's a beauty.
No doubt about it. Curry and I, along with Pat DiPuzzo and Kevin Collins, refereed the first game in the modern era with 2 referees and 2 linesmen. It was Toronto at Madison Square Garden against the Rangers. And it was unprecedented at the time, and we had a little press conference after, and the press, brought up statistics. You called this many, and he called that many, and so on. And I said that wasn't the most difficult part of the game. I said I had one of the worst fights in my career before the game started, and they get their pencils ready, and I said, yeah, trying to get to the mirror and the hair gel with Kerry there was a battle.
All you had to do is bump up against him. Hey, Stewie, I think our listeners don't realize that, though you grew up in Boston, you went to the University of Penn, which obviously is a loved university here in the city. And
that means you're smart, right, Stewie?
I was going to say, yeah, you passed all the other dumb referees that I've been involved with.
Well, it's a known fact that after I left Penn and started playing, I was in Binghamton. I was in the movie Slapshot in '76.
Oh, no way!
with Paul Newman. Hey, hand your wife's a dyke. Which is an earthen device that holds back water, by the way. I was right behind him when he said it. So you freeze it and you see me with a yellow helmet on. And it's funny because then there's a big fight scene with the goalie jumping over the boards. They had to build a ramp for him to run up the ramp to get, because he was so short. But it was a fun experience. And, I set the record for penalty minutes in Binghamton, 273 in 44 games. I had 44 games and 42 majors for fighting. And people say, well, what happened? I said, I don't know what happened in those other 2 games. They didn't put me out, but
it's a blur. Well, Stewie, that's why they made you a referee, because you were experienced in getting penalties.
Well, it's again, the fox and the hound. I understand both positions, but primarily my time at Penn, I owe so much to the Flyers, because they practiced at our class of 23 rink, and I was the assistant rink manager, driving the Zamboni, painting the seats and painting the dress rooms and cleaning the toilets and all of those things, working my way through school. And I got to be great friends with Barry Ashby, God rest his soul, and Rick McLeish as well, and Fred Hero, and all of those fellows took a great interest and helped me. And for those like Schultz and Kelly, Bob Kelly gave me my best piece of advice that I ever got from a fellow player. He said to me, I wasn't playing. He said to me, get a Hockey News, pick the worst team in the worst league, and go there. And I did. I bought a $14 bus ticket on December 13th. I went to Binghamton and never looked back.
Oh, that's awesome. We're talking with Paul Stewart, former NHL official. And Stewie, you refereed in a time where, the game has changed. We talked with Craig Berube last week about the fighting aspect in the NHL. Although they still drop the gloves, it's not, the game has completely changed. It was you guys as officials pretty much controlled, how the game went.
Well, my secret to that was the safest place sometimes was in the middle between 2 guys that were pretending they were going to fight. I got in trouble my first game in the American League in Springfield with Al Arbor up there with Jack Butterfield and all these folks, and 2 guys dropped their gloves, and they were dancing around and dancing around and dancing around. And finally I said, if you guys don't start swinging, I'm going to take my whistle off and kick the crap out of both of you. And I got in trouble for that. But it was my secret, which is I used to tell the linesmen, stand back and let them go. Let's see what you got, boys. Get right out to center. These people came to see you.
Well, Stewie, hey, listen, other than your ties with, the Flyers and Penn, I don't think people know that you raise a lot of money for Snyder Hockey. And you're always doing something to help everybody else out, which is what, we can really appreciate people like that. I've done a lot of charity work, and it's a great feeling to be able to, to do stuff like that. Tell us how your ties to Schneider Hockey came.
Well, first of all, Mr. Snyder was always a very engaging guy to me. I know he had some words occasionally for referees along the way, but when I was a student at Penn, I would say hi to him when he came to the rink, especially after the first year they won the Stanley Cup. And Mr. Keith Allen was also so kind to me, and Fred Shiro, as I said. I gained great respect, and I actually did try to come to work for the Flyers as a scout or some type of person in their hockey department. And he actually called me back, which showed to me a great deal of respect. And I was so appreciative of that, because he was really the guy that started everything in Philadelphia and saw it through with class and dignity. His son Jay went to Penn. I know him. He was a goaltender, and just working in the club team. But he had the love of the game, and so that whole family has done so much for the Philadelphia area. And think of all the things that they've done as far as building rinks and such. They just put some money into the university class of 23 rink and resurrected it. I gave a speech at the Hockey Hall of Fame in the U.S. When I was inducted last year, and I held up a pair of skates, and I said, these are skates to everyone, but to me, they've been my passport to the world. And the fact is that I came from Dorchester, Mass, which is sort of like, well, it's a little bit like Philly, I think, maybe because you got to have a bit of toughness to get through. The Wahlburgers are from my neighborhood, and my brother, who was in the court system, he was the probation officer for all of them. They all had a few hubcaps. People say, "How do you make a white kid fast?" You give him a hubcap and turn on the police alarm. The fact is that those skates, in many ways, gave me an anchor and a direction in my life, and it was a life that I chose. And subsequently, I did a children's book with Matthew Sherman, who's a Washington Crossing boy who did it as a school project, and it's The Magical Christmas of Paul Stewart, and it's about my first pair of skates and how my dad tricked me into trying them on because I had girl skates, and that didn't go well. But
it's tough to fight with those pom poms on.
Well, the toe picks, I kept tripping and falling, and people.
Yeah, we wanted to mention your two books that you have. You have one of your books that's out on Amazon now is "You Want to Go," which is obviously anybody that's ever played hockey knows exactly what those words are. But and then you have your Magical
O'Reilly
Christmas.
said that to me my first game in the NHL. I had a hat trick my first game in the NHL, although I only had 2 career goals, and we would need more time for me to tell you about both of them. But the interesting thing is that my dad was a referee and an umpire and a coach, and he would say to me often, "You want to go? I'm going to Harvard, or I'm going to the Beanpot, or I'm going up to Cornell, or here or there." And so when I finish the preface, I say, if you'd like to read a little bit more about my life and take a walk with me, turn the page if you want to go. So it has a lot of different meanings, but the fact is that it was nearly an impossible dream if anyone would ever have sat down and said, "Oh, Paul Stewart's going to play in the NHL and Paul Stewart's going to referee in the NHL." And those were my goals, but I actually made it 3 times. In 98, I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon and liver cancer, and I, with the grace of God and with all of the teammates in the medical industry, were seeing their courage. Now, again, they helped me through, and I got back to refereeing and to my life, and have 2 sons.
That's awesome.
I actually just sent one of my books to Katie Couric because it was because of her going on television after her husband had died at age 42 from colon cancer. I sent her a book, and I told her, I said, "You gave me 22 years that I wouldn't have had."
That's awesome, Paul. That's awesome.
I can't give back to people. People always say, "Oh, you're so good about giving back." I can't give back, but I can share.
Yep.
That's what I'm
absolutely.
trying to do.
Go ahead.
We're talking with Paul Stewart, former NHL official. You can follow him on Twitter at PaulStewart22. Paul, well, listen, we got to take a break. Would you mind hanging on with us? We can come back after the break and catch up with you.
I've hung on with a lot of people, and 2 of you guys, if you're buying, I'm staying.
All right, very good. All right, so let's do a little business. The first hour of the locker room is powered by Surety Title. Surety provides comprehensive title insurance protection and professional settlement services for home buyers and sellers, real estate agents and brokers, lenders, home builders, and attorneys to facilitate your real estate purchases. It's an industry-wide leader with a team of experts that will help you through the entire process from contract signing to closing, from the shortest center city and every place in between. Surety Title's there for you. 15 office locations in New Jersey and PA. That's Surety Title. For more information, call Ron Conklin at 856-988-8900. Friends, let me tell you about Maserati of the Main Line, located minutes from downtown Philadelphia. They offer a customer-focused car buying experience designed to exceed all expectations and invite you to stop in and learn about their entire line of premium luxury vehicles, including the sporty Ghibli midsize sedan and the class-defining all-new Levante, the only SUV worthy of being called a Maserati. Maserati, the Main Line, is a national leader in Maserati certified pre-owned sales, named top certified retailer in 2018. The experience does not end at the point of the sale, as Maserati, the Main Line, offers free pickup and delivery for scheduled service appointments and provides new Maserati loaner cars. So add a little bit of flair to your next new vehicle. Call my good friend Michael Pileggi at Maserati, the Main Line, today at 484-804-4800. That's 484-804-4800, or visit them online anytime at MOTML.com. All right, when we return, we'll continue with our conversation with former NHL official Paul Stewart. You're listening to The Locker Room with Billy Schweim on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app.